What's up guys, I'm Maureen Moody and I'm a Curious Stylist, and today I'm going to be breaking down how I do a basic double process using Blondme by Schwarzkopf. I'm going to be putting this as a part of my Blondme Basics playlist, which I'll be linking up here, and I have video on how and why you should do a platinum card method, and also my Blondme balayage video. So if you're interested in those, I'll be linking them up there. I'll be going over my mixing ratios, my application, and my timing. And then I'm gonna go a little bit into what happens sometimes when you get in your own way. But I'll also be giving some formulas on what I did and how I did it. So if that sounds like fun, stick around. So this video, I'm going to be not going so much over the color correction end, but I am going to be going over just how I do a basic double process. So as you can see, I am using Blondme lightener, and I am using it at a ratio of 2:1. So I mixed 40 grams of powder lightener to 80 grams of 7-volumed peroxide, and she is a natural level 5. Now, I know that this lightener can really take that and handle it, so that is why I'm using 7 volume. I am going to be processing this for about 35 to 45 minutes, so keep that in mind, but I prefer to do a more gentler lightener. And as you can see too, as I'm working around the head, I'm leaving about 1 inch away from the front hairline because that hair is a lot more delicate. So what I like to do is apply the lightener all around the head, and when I'm finally done, I go back and I do that hairline again because that hair is very delicate, and believe it or not, it catches right up to everything else. So that's one of my favorite tricks to do as I am doing a double process. It will save your client's hair. And I prefer to be a lot more gentler. I'd rather be safe than sorry. So as you can see, I've gone around to the front hairline now, and I am just applying the lightener just around the hairline and being very gentle. If you stick around to the end, I have a pretty funny story about when I first started out as a hairstylist. At this point, I'm just going around to make sure that I didn't leave any hollows or miss any of the hair. And when I wash the hair, I like to wash this twice. And you want to use cool water because you got to keep in mind that their scalps are going to be a little on the tender side. I know that hers was. Now I am using the Chroma ID conditioning masks. I used 9.5-1 and 8.1-9. Can you do me a favor? If you are finding value in this content, please smash the like button and subscribe. I make weekly videos. So this is where I was toning the hair, and she had some green on her ends that I was trying to correct and move away from. Green is very difficult to remove. So I was using the 9.5-1 to give a cendre, that's a blue violet with an ash violet, with the 8.19. And this is kind of where I tried to bite off a little bit more than her hair was able to handle. I think if I had just left it alone and not done this next step, which is what you're seeing me do, I put the Chroma ID violet and a little bit of red in there to kind of counteract the green on her end. So now I'm going to be using Schwarzkopf 829, which is a blue violet, a little bit of, you'll see the formula right there, 5 grams of 0-11 and 5 grams of E-1. And E-1 is like a smoky cendre. It's sort of like a gray. So I didn't want to put too many. I wanted her to be a level 8 or 9, and I put 7 volume. So I did a mixing ratio of 1 to 1.5, and I am using the 0 time brushes to get this on. It's very gentle on the scalp, and I'm trying to take every precaution because her scalp is really tender. So I worked that through, and now this is what I'm doing for her ends. I'm using 9.5-29 and 5 grams of 0-11 with, 1 to 1.5 of the 7 volume. So that's how I mixed it. So I mixed 1 part color to 1.5 parts developer, and I'm working that through her ends. Now this is the thing where I messed up. When you put a direct dye on the hair and then you put color on top of it, it's going to oxidize. And at this point, this is where I made the mistake. It was actually turning blue. And the reason why it was turning blue is the direct dye was oxidizing. And as it oxidizes, it deteriorates. So as you can see, her ends are a little on the blue side. And I think if I had just left it alone, she would have been fine. But sometimes you can be your own worst enemy. If I had just left with the toning conditioners, I think that would have been just fine. And then I could have put the oxidative color on and it would have been okay because it was pretty light. But I'm still really happy with the way this came out. It's a really pretty color. She's got the smoky roots with the purple that goes down to a soft blue. And I'm very happy with the way it came out. And she's really likes it too. So I think it's just going to fade beautifully. And if you are interested in Schwarzkopf products and understanding how to work with them, I've been working with that color line for about 5 years now, and I really love it. I've had a lot of success with it, and so I know a thing or two while I'm working with it. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I would love to answer any of them. Okay. So now that we're over the tutorial part, I want to do a little story time. So a few years ago, when I was just starting out, and I've been doing hair for about 27 years, believe it or not. I started right out of high school. I actually got my license while I was in high school. So they had a 2-year program and I went during that, and I got out of high school having my license. And I started working at a salon it was a higher end salon in 1993. Now, when I went in to get my job, my boss at the time, he was an educator for Logix, and he was smoking a cigarette and cutting the line of this lady's hair, and it was the straightest line that I had ever seen, and I knew that I wanted to work there, and I was so excited to learn color theory. But that didn't really happen initially. So in the 90s, before we had Windows, it was one of those times where you had to really, if you wanted to learn, you had to really. So my boss was really good at hair color, except for when he showed up to work drunk, which he did a lot. So there was this lady that came in, and she was a regular, and she had very short hair, and it was my hair color. And at the time, we were a Matrix / Logix salon. And Matrix had just come out with their powder lightener called V-Light. So he mixed it up with, I think, 30 volume and put it on this lady's hair. And her hair was really short. She looked like Grace Jones, which I'm gonna pop a picture of Grace Jones right here. Yeah, she was Italian, but she had very white blonde hair. So after I had used V-Light for the very first time, I washed her in the back bowl area, and I used purple shampoo like my boss had told me to do. And that's when things went wrong. So I rinsed off the purple shampoo, and her hair was purple. And my boss was busy with this other client, and I was just like, oh my gosh, how do I, of course, I was like, hey Joe, you might want to come over here. It looks really good, but I think you might want to just, you know, see how pretty it is. And Joe, of course, came over. And he was like, oh, you know, it looks really good, but I think we need to put a conditioning mask on it. So I went in the back and he told me to take yellow concentrate from the tube and put it on her hair. And he didn't even have me mix it with peroxide, which now I don't understand why he did that. But he was drunk that day. So I'm putting the yellow on top of her hair, and you know, it kind of helped, but it didn't really help. And we ended up having to put bleach back on her hair, and when I rinsed her hair off, I never had noticed that when hair is over processed, it turns into like gel. It's like gelatinous. And I was rinsing off like gelatinous hair. Needless to say, we never saw Grace Jones again. That's my fun story for today.